Hey, everybody, that was Jeff Bitchell's Fat Cigar you were listening to, and that means it's time for Not Just Blowing Smoke. Coming at you live from Twin Smoke Shop Studio headquarters in Hooksett, New Hampshire. Be sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, Google, basically wherever you get your podcast from. I'm Pastor Padron. I'm here with my co-hosts, Paul and Dave. Nick is off tonight, but we are privileged to have very special guest, Jorge Armenteros, on the show with us. He is the founder and president of Tobacconist University. Jorge, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And as we talk to Jorge, we're going to be smoking the Padron 1964 anniversary series Presidente Maduro. Another cigar with a very long formal name. It's a this was released back in 2017. It was Padron's second tubo release cigar, the first being the Padron 90. And this one, being in the 64 series, has the box pressed tube as well, which brings up the question, is it a tubo or is it a box?
Boxo.
I don't know. But it's a Nicaraguan Maduro wrapper, Nicaraguan binder filler. It's a Toro size, 6x50. And Paul, what are we pairing with this tonight?
So tonight we are pairing it with one of my favorite Jack Daniel's products, the Gentleman Jack. If anyone's ever had the original Jack Daniel's, this is just more of a premium version of that. It's goes through a double mellowing process where it's charcoal filtered before it goes into the barrel and before it goes into the bottle.
Excellent.
Yes, it is very good.
And Jorge, you're having some Macallan?
Yes, sir. Macallan 12 Sherry Oak Cask.
Very, very nice. Very nice. So before we get to talking to Jorge about everything, Paul, what's your initial thoughts on the cigar and the pairing?
Well, the cigar on its own, we've obviously have done Padron before. So the 64 series, you got a lot of chocolate notes, nice earthy notes, as well as that little bit of pepper too. Very, very smooth. Obviously, it's Padron. It's very, very smooth. But
yeah,
you definitely got a lot more of the getting a lot more chocolate notes out of this one. We've done the Toro before about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
But this one particular, and maybe it's the ring size, but I'm picking up a lot more chocolate notes out of this one. This is a really, really smooth, chocolatey, peppery cigar.
Yeah.
Dave?
My first retrohale was I thought with this, I almost like coughed. I was like, whoa, this was really strong. But yeah, it's like a lot of cocoa, like cacao cocoa, and a lot of pepper. Love it.
Now, this is a very similar size, right, Jorge, to the Exclusivo?
Yeah, I think it's a half-inch longer.
Yeah, something like that.
More delightful.
Yeah, it is. You know, all right, I'm going to come clean.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to come clean here.
Pastor's coming clean.
So Jorge and I, we go back to like 1999, 2000, something. I was a customer at his store, Little Taste of Cuba in Princeton, New Jersey. And then I got hired there part-time. And one of the centerpiece brands for that store was Padron. And the Exclusivo from that point to today is still one of my favorite cigars.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, the Exclusivo changed the world of cigars as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the anniversary series did.
Yeah.
Practically invented elegant, sophisticated Nicaraguans. You back then you would have thought in the early 90s, Nicaraguans are more like Te Amos, rustic Central American tobacco. And then they came out with the Exclusivo. We didn't even put it on the shelf till like a couple of years ago. We had to hide them. It was so complex. You would smoke that cigar, and you would just have to sit down and stop talking, and you'd be wondering, what am I tasting? What's happening here? And that's the greatest cigar in the world, one that makes you shut up and just be present. And then they pioneered the box press on that cigar too. So yeah, this is like the bigger brother. I mean, this is even more exciting.
Yeah, I love this cigar. The Presidente is one of the best tasting Padrones, I think, on the market right now. It's a really incredible cigar.
It is. Yep.
Now, am I remembering right, Jorge, that A Little Taste of Cuba kind of started off, or it was the offshoot of a college project you had going for you when you were in business school?
Well, I made it, I walked into Georgetown Tobacco like my sophomore year in college, like 92. And actually, I met a retired spy. He told me he used to work there when he wasn't in the Congo. And he was a pipe smoker. So I had to go in. And I remember the moment I walked in, I opened the door. I took 1 foot in, stepped on the wood. I hear the creaking. I took a breath. I remember the smell of the well-marinated tobacconist. I fell madly in love with the place. And Cigar Aficionado was coming out at the time, or had just come out. Castro was on the cover. And I just fell in love with the industry. And I'd always loved cigar shops, and my grandfather and dad smoked. But then I thought, well, maybe I can turn this into a business. So I ended up doing a paper on it, I think, for like an entrepreneurship class. But I didn't get the idea because of the college. I got the idea because I loved it.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
Now, then you ended up opening in New Jersey. Why New Jersey?
Well, I had my business plan set for Marietta, Georgia, because my dad lived there, and I was able to borrow like $42,000 from my father. And then the business plan was ready. And then he said, my company's moving me. I can live in New Jersey, New York, or Connecticut. And I started scouting towns. I went to Princeton. I fell in love. And, but based on the advice of a friend or a friend of his. So, I'm not a genius. It takes a lot of luck sometimes to get lucky or to be successful. And that's how I found Princeton. And I found it just in time. The cigar boom had kicked in. I opened in September of 95. I was there by May. I packed up right after graduation. I was already packed. I graduated, I got in the van, and I went to New Jersey, rented a space, and I've been there for over 25 years now.
And
that's crazy.
It is a gorgeous place. It's, Princeton, he's right down on Witherspoon Street. You've got these great cherry blossom trees lining both sides of the road going down there. You couldn't ask for a better location.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Do you still have the Cuban jazz played in there every day?
No, as I spent less time in the store, my standards have been undermined by staff. Although now we play opera, and, we have like hip hop Friday nights, whatever the customers want. But you're right. I was thinking back when he asked me to do this, I thought, oh, Dan worked for me like 6 or 7 years ago, but you worked for me 20 years ago.
Yeah, just about.
Which is wild, time flies. I want to note that you are like my favorite type of tobacconist, in that you come to the business with an innate passion, like a knowledge. It's just in you, like a cigar maker. They say it's in their blood. You're the ultimate tobacconist. I'd say only 1 in 10, 2 in 10 tobacconists are like that. There's a lot of guys who are into the trend, or just, experimenting, and they pretend that they have a giant passion, but you are really the hardcore, to a owner, a retail shop owner, you're a gift, because we could train you on things, merchandising, cleaning, or whatever, but real passion is not something you can teach. So that's something definitely, while I didn't realize it was 20 years ago, it's something I've always remembered. And I could probably count on 1.5 hands how many of those I've had. And I've had over 100 employees.
Over 100, geez.
Yeah, that's wild too.
I remember when you were interviewing me, you were like, "Hey, my retention rate is super high. Nobody ever quits. So if I don't fire you, you better be here forever." You've had over 100 people in that time. That's amazing.
Well, 2 stores. Yeah, right. I had another store in Pennsylvania. So yeah, but times have changed. Actually, you come from that era. In the 90s, if your wife wanted to call you, she'd call the shop, right? Not everybody.
And she did.
Right. Hey, Manny, what's up? So, but now people are glued to their apparatus. You think you're the epicenter of the universe. It's changed the human brain. It's changed the culture. Not as many people take tobacconist jobs as second jobs. It's just, we live in a different world. And I would definitely say in the last decade, the nature of the people we're lucky enough to employ when they're good, that has changed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, being in the retail business for 25 years is a huge accomplishment. And I totally congratulate you on that. I'm so pleased to have been with you at the beginning, especially. Who were some of the people who really helped you on your way and helped you build that 25-year success that you've had?
Wow, thank you for that. Well, definitely David Berkebile at Georgetown Tobacco. When I was going to school in Washington, D.C., I fell madly in love with that shop. I've always patterned my own shops after that. And he's been extremely helpful, you know, in his years as RTDA, IPCPR president, and just a friend, you know.
Sure.
And then, of course, the Padrones. I was lucky enough to meet them in the early 90s, I think, before they took off and were tremendously successful and famous, although they have been successful already. The old man took a liking to me, and the whole family was magnificent, and I was really lucky to be there on the ground floor before things got crazy. So, and I used to buy Padrones from my dad, and my grandfather used to smoke them when I was a kid. So to me, it was an important brand before the country or the world knew that they were an important brand. So I was just lucky, you know. There's a lot of luck involved, and I got a good share of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I remember, you know, you had an uncle who used to work part-time at the store, I think, and you were telling me this how one of the Fuentes had come up, and you were trying to get a Fuente account with them to get Opus into the store, and he said, "Don't you want your cigars up sitting next to these?" and blew some smoke into his face.
Oh yeah.
And then they showed up. That was I'll never forget. And I've told this story before. My first Opus X was a Corona. I don't remember what size it was, but I had it at your store. Been hearing about them. They were all talked up and everything. And at the time, you know, shifts were like what, 4 or 5 hours maybe at a time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I smoked it, you know, over the course of the shift. And I remember locking the doors and sitting down on the couch and then just saying, I am completely stoned. And I just sat there about 30 minutes staring out the front door. And then my brain started to work again. I said, well, I don't think I need another one of those for a while. But that was a strong, strong cigar back then. That hasn't happened to me too many times since.
Yeah, I would think not. Your constitution has evolved.
Yes, it has. You've know, out, up, you know, whatever direction that there is. You know, one of the things that I really enjoyed about your shop too, and being there, was that you know, you were totally into the cigars, but you were also into pipes and tobacco as well. And as I've gone to other shops, you know, throughout the Northeast and New England, that is such a rarity to see a tobacco shop taking pipes seriously. How important do you think it is for shops to be catering to that particular market?
Well, you know, I did it because I was aspirational and I wanted to be like Georgetown.
Right.
And they were great at it. You know, my detriment, my weakness has always been that that's not my first love. You know, it's not even like a good mistress to me. But I wanted to be in that. You know, at Tobacconist University, we use the term tobacconist because, you know, you're an expert dealer in tobacco and all the related accoutrements. And to really understand, let's say, dark air-cured tobaccos, you need to understand the world of light tobaccos. And so to your question, I mean, I think you're right, because 90%, 95% of every shop out there is really a cigar shop.
Right.
But I think if you're in this business long enough, all you're going to end up doing is looking for new ways to make more money, because the bills get bigger, the insurance gets worse. And so, you know, you're going to gravitate towards pipes and tobaccos. But it's a challenge, especially, it's a lot of inventory to sit on.
Yes.
It doesn't turn like cigars. The pipes don't turn like cigars. There's always some knucklehead dropping a pipe and breaking a shank, whether it's an employee or a customer, right? Shoplifting is a beast. It's difficult. It's challenging. You got the labor of bulk packaging, which is fine, you know, because it's an opportunity to talk to a customer, but it's challenging. But I love the word tobacconist. I love the profession of being a tobacconist. And so I've never been a great pipe tobacconist, but I've always tried to stay in it because I thought it was very important and did my best, even though I'm not the best at it.
Yeah, well, I think you did a great job with that. That's, I was instilled at your shop a love for pipes as well as a love for cigars, and now, I'm not only am I managing a store up here, but I'm in charge of the pipes and tobaccos for Twins, and that all goes back to you and your shop and the training that I got there, and I'm very happy with it. I love both. It's one of these things where Pastor Padron goes both ways.
That's what we hear on the streets.
The cigars, yes, I'm sure you do. Do you remember the first time you called me Pastor Padron?
No, I didn't know I coined the term. I'm sure I've called you worse, so let's go with that.
You have. You've called me. You've called me much worse. I've been afraid for my life a few times. Yeah. I remember when one of the things we could do there was like I got my first DuPont with you, and I remember having it ordered and was gonna put it on have payments out of my paycheck for a month or whatever, and I apparently should have told them that we ordered that for me, and oh my Lord, I thought I was going to be murdered, like the mob was going to come after me or something.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah, here I am 20 years later.
I was more feisty in my 20s though, but you should definitely check up on that with any boss.
Oh yeah, that was a big mistake on my part. Good grief. But I remember one day walking into the shop, and you're sitting on the couch reading the paper, and you look up and you say, "Oh, look who it is, Pastor Padron." And that was the first time somebody called, and everybody kind of laughed and giggled. "Oh, Pastor Padron, yeah, that's what you smoke all the time." And here it is, 20 years later. That's my nickname, Pastor Padron. I figured to myself, well, it could be worse.
Yes,
I'll just keep that. But you're the guy who coined it.
Wow.
I'm not surprised you don't remember.
You're not exactly painting a great picture of me, but I was young, I opened that shop when I was 21. I was rambunctious.
Yeah, you were a young dude.
Well, we all thought you were going to have a halo the way he talks about you all the time. So.
Wow, that's sweet of you. Very nice.
You're the man.
Yep.
If I'm the Darth Piper, you're the emperor over everything. So
I'm actually a big fan of your current boss. I love Kurt. I think he's a great guy. I think he's brilliant. I love his temperament. He's a special guy, and there's probably only a handful or two of those around that I know pretty well. So
we're very blessed to have Kurt as a boss.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I could not have ended up at a better place. It's Kurt's a great guy, and he knows his stuff, and he has high standards too, which I really appreciate. It's really been great working with him. So how did Tobacconist University start? Where did the idea come from to start doing something to train other people's staff in the art of tobacconist stuff?
So I opened in September of '95. By January, I knew I was a complete idiot, even though I'd read everything I could. January '96, I went to Cuba just to really try, because it doesn't matter how much you hang out in shops, and if you've read everything there is to read on cigars. At the time, you literally could read everything there is to read, and I did, and it wasn't enough. So I went to Cuba. I got lucky. I had ran into the director general of Cuba Tobacco at the Partagas bar. We became great friends. Drinking there, and he gave me access to farms and all sorts of old books and documents and really cool stuff. And when I got back, I turned it into like a fundamental educational course for my tobacconist, because I always wanted, I didn't want to compete on price or volume in my business. I wanted to be a luxury, a boutique, a product specialist. I wanted to be the best professional we could be. And so it made sense that if I'm having a hard time being that person, I need to create a system to help others. And I started on that in '96. And I believe by November of that year, we started teaching a course at a local hotel where the general manager was a customer of mine. We had like 30 or 40 or more customers come in, and we taught it over the course of a month. It was called Cuban Cigar University. Then I had opened a store by November of that year in New Hope, Pennsylvania. And a year or two later, I opened another one back in at Marietta, Georgia, Atlanta, where my uncle and aunt ran it. So I was training them. I was certifying consumers. And it used to be a giant binder. It still is. I mean, that's the old version. I have it. Right. That I would give to employees. And then I developed a test. And then around 2003, I saw the way the industry was going. So many challenges, retail side, legislation, taxation, that I wanted to, I call it turning it inside out. Instead of just making it for our shops, I wanted to make it for every shop. And I spent from 2003 to like 2005, 2006, because you think it's simple. Oh, I'll just make it for everybody and I'll put it online. Sure. But it was a lot of work. And then when you do that, you see all the holes you have. So I had to double down on pipes, make that better, get video for rolling. So it was a process. But I think by 2006, we became the official academic curriculum of what was converting from the RTDA to then being the IPCPR.
Right.
And, we've just been growing since. I remember we didn't have any. My employees were the only certified tobacconists at the time. And slowly but surely, I think today we're up over 667 or something certified retail tobacconists, with, many more than that apprenticing. So it's been quite the ride.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, that's what my degree says is Cuba Cigar University. I remember getting this packet of, it had to be 50, 60, 70 pages of
the big binder. Yeah, you got that
stuff. And then taking the test and stuff like that. And now you've got, not only have you written a book, which having written some books on my own, I know how much work goes into that. But then you've got a second edition, and which expanded, and now there's hookahs, are covered in that as well.
Hey, thank you.
It's amazing. Yeah, we got the book right there.
Came out beautiful. It's great print quality. That's with a big fancy publisher, so it's nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you self-publish the first one?
I did, and it went for 10 years, and I probably made a lot more money on it. The publishers don't pay you that much, but I wanted to create a better looking product that was a lot more reasonably priced. And that thing right now is on sale on Amazon, the Tobacconist Handbook, for like $17. It's unbelievable. So
that's awesome.
Puts it in more people's hands, and it's gorgeous quality. The paper, the pictures, really nice.
Yeah, I know. One of our guys, Pat, who recently got certified, loved the introduction to the book. Who was that written by? It was one of the.
Well, we have the original intro. Forward was George Padron, and then this one, and we have, of course, we kept that, and then Glenn Loop, just before he finished his tenure there at the CRA, wrote the intro for this. So really good people.
Yeah, people are loving it and everything. How difficult was it for you to put all that into a book, and what kind of things? How did you have to change?
Oh, it was brutal.
Your view of teaching things to get it in it, because it's one thing to talk to people, it's another thing to put it in writing that most people are going to be able to understand.
That's a great question, because that's like torture, because everything is truncated in there. And how do you truncate these things, and how do you talk about cigar rolling? And so, 90% of 76% of our Amazon ratings are 5-star, 14% are 4-star. But the rest, if we get a bad rating, people say stuff like, it's not in-depth enough. Well, that's crazy talk, but there is a good valid point there that we cannot go in-depth enough into everything. If you go to our online curriculum, we have videos, we're much more verbose. You can go on and on about things, right?
Right.
Even our online curriculum, though, isn't like a forum where there's just a lot of verbal masturbation going on and people talk incessantly about things maybe. So it is really hard to distill things, to get to the au jus of what TU is and what the handbook is. And back to your previous question, TU is meant to give a strong educational and product foundation to professional tobacconists. And we're not teaching you how to work for Twins or any other store, right? We give you the product foundation. Your owner, your leadership, your managers can layer on everything they want after that. But if a person goes to work at a cigar shop, you hand them the tobacconist handbook or you tell them to go get certified, you know that that's going to be a strong foundation, to build a house upon or a career upon or a profession or a passion. And there's a lot of bad information out there. The internet is full of good and full of bad.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to discern. So filtering and distilling it's painful because I read that and I want to add more and more. Like, how do you do fermentation in just a paragraph, the 3-4 sentences? It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. It's not a novel, right? It doesn't have like a big, beautiful arc. It's really trying to cram 10 pounds of whatever into a 5-pound bag. And that's why it's called a handbook and not a Bible, for example.
Right. So what are some of the challenges you had to overcome to get that off the ground and into other people's shops? I mean, it's one thing for you to require your own staff to do it, but then how do you go about talking to other tobacconists and other store owners and saying, hey, you should really think about reading this book?
I've never said that to anybody. There's two types of people out there in the world with respect to TU, Tobacconist University. There's the ones that get it and want it, and the ones that don't and don't care. And I've never sold it. We've never advertised. It speaks to people who want that credibility and that foundation, who want to learn. And then, like, we did the trade show for over a decade, and we would give manual exams there, and people would come up. One guy, it's a great story we have with the girls who used to work the booth with me, came up, he said, I was in the jungles of Nam for 18 months. What are you going to certify me on? I was certified in the jungles of Nam. And we're like, no, well, sorry, we understand. Thank you. You don't push. Tobacconists are some of America and the world's greatest individualists. You're hard-headed. You're stubborn. Many of them are super smart. But it's not something we push, right? If you either get it and you want it or you don't. We've always hoped and believed, and it's been proven true, that the substance of what we do speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Certification is, a promotional vehicle, because once you sign up, you accept the code of ethics and standards. So we establish that there is such a thing for a professional. Simple things, right? Like ID checking, sanitary procedures, whatever. Merchandising products with the care and integrity. And then there's an academic curriculum. And then you get tested on that and you pass and your listing rotates and there are other benefits that you get with it. But, it either speaks to you or it doesn't. But you don't push tobacconists to do anything, I don't believe, in this world, unless you sign their paychecks.
Right, Dan?
Yeah, that's right. No, Kurt and Sean, the general manager here at Twins, they're big into Tobacconist University. They want all their employees to be certified. They love their bartenders to be certified too. They've talked.
We have that. Our newest program, the Certified Cigar Sommelier Tobacconist, is perfect for that because it's not as intensive as the Certified Retail Tobacconist degree. And it's really our biggest growth section. There's so many niches, people with vlogs and blogs and websites and who do events and specialties that, support retail, women making cigar products, women running women's cigar groups, things like that. So our Cigar Sommelier program has really become very popular, and it's a streamlined system. You can pass that exam in 5 hours of study. But, our thing is when you come out the other end, we know you're not a moron, you know things. But back to your other question, I just want to say that tobacconists and what we do is really intense and complex, and we never got credit for it. And like a sommelier, which is a diluted word in the wine field anyway, right? Mm-hmm. But, thankfully Cigar Aficionado emerged, and then the other magazines and a lot of really smart people on the internet. And the world started to see, wow, there really is a lot to cigar making and to creating a cigar. And that was, the tobacconist work was never really validated and promoted, I think, until TU. And so I think it sells itself to tobacconists who realize, wow, the more you smoke, the longer you smoke, the more you realize how extraordinary the products are. And to be really great at servicing customers, it's a big challenge. It's a heavy lift.
So you've moved from Princeton down to Cape Coral, Florida.
Well, not Cape Coral, but Florida, undisclosed
Florida.
location on the West Coast. I am between Tampa and Miami, equidistant.
Florida, an undisclosed location in Florida.
It's the layer is currently being finalized.
Yeah. Now, are you going to be running Tobacconist University basically virtually still down there, or are you looking to have another, brick and mortar thing down there? Are you going to, stay in the retail business, or what's your plans for that down there?
Well, for now, I continue to have my shop in Princeton, New Jersey, but TU exists on the internet. That's what made it economically viable, and it still hasn't been economically viable till recently. So it just took a long time to pay for all the things that go into TU, and it's been brutal. But no, we'll continue to be on the internet, but we have a lot of projects coming up, and being close to the cigar industry is got a lot of value to us, and it will in the coming months and years, especially to be near Tampa, to be near Miami. We need to be where the industry is.
Yes.
And I'll say this, the people who appreciate Tobacconist University are tobacconists, and a lot of consumers. We certify a lot. The people who could really up their game is the manufacturers and the people who sell cigars to tobacconists. And so we're going to spend a lot of time in the future making a lot of these companies realize how valuable their retail tobacconists really are.
That's awesome. And what are some of the other where do you want to see TU 5 years from now?
Well, I just want to continue on the trajectory that we have, but this year we'll be revealing a new program that is meant to help retail tobacconists. I don't think any business has more challenges in this country or this planet than the retail tobacconist. I can't speak for other planets, but not this one. And so we really want to dig deeper and provide tools that retailers can leverage to help themselves. Retailers don't compete with other retailers. Retailers compete with the internet and mail order.
Yeah.
So, and it, what gives me a lot of hope is every day, almost every day, not literally, but I'd say 3-4 days a week, 3 days a week, we have a new shop opening that is signing up for some degree or looking to sign up for a degree once they're open. So it's a vital industry. The passion of our consumers is unbridled, and we want to do anything and everything we can to support that because there's not enough support considering all the challenges. And I'm not sure that you guys realize that, New Hampshire is a great state for cigar smoking, but there's a lot of terrible ones.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
like New Jersey.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, where I live.
Yeah, I think 25 years in New Jersey is like 50 in a normal state. I'll give myself credit for that.
Yeah, no, the fact that you not only survived but made such a great shop at a very difficult, frankly, very expensive location says a lot. Not only your own perseverance, but about what you accomplished.
New Jersey is so bad. When I opened that tasting room, the health department came in and they said, "Oh, you're not going to have a TV in here, right? People shouldn't really be having a good time." And then they said, "Well, you probably really shouldn't have chairs in here because they don't need to be comfortable." And one of their ideas was literally like, maybe because of the way the law is written that allows smoking in New Jersey, you're only allowed to smoke a cigar if you're sampling it with the intention to make a cash and carry purchase of a larger volume, which is complete nonsense, right? Because you can't measure a person's intention.
Right.
But the health department said, what would be good is maybe if we had a check-in list where people sign in when they arrive and sign out when they leave, so we know how long they've been here. And I was like, that's like Nazi Germany. I mean, you want to literally track people's time smoking a cigar in a retail cigar shop. And I said something as dramatic as what I just said, like, that's ridiculous. And they backed off. I think they heard themselves, the anti-smoking, do-gooding people of the world. Sometimes when they talk out loud, they realize, oh, maybe I've gone too far.
Yeah.
So we didn't hear about that again, but it's just a brutal state to do business in. And it depends on your local municipality too. But we just happen to be in a really tough one there.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's crazy, yeah.
Now, you add on top of that, this last year we had the whole COVID thing. How did A Little Taste of Cuba deal with that. How did that affect Tobacconist University?
Yeah.
Well, TU was great because we had like shops saying, hey, this is a great time to get our people in and study. And consumers would, because it's very low cost, right? A consumer, our fanciest, hardest degree is $150 for a consumer. And so, people want to be challenged because a lot of people say they know things, but sometimes it's good to prove it to yourself too. So TU fared well. It was actually very comforting to be on the phone and get emails, and people were, in New Jersey, we were dying. Like you go to the supermarket, it was like an episode of like Ebola, or you were worried, people were going to be bleeding out of their eyes and out of their pants. So TU was really hopeful for me because a lot of people were coming to TU. Our growth is excellent, and we're up 108% this year. We were up over 100% last year.
Awesome.
TU was comforting. Retail was terrifying, because the streets were empty and people were scared. You could see the people that were really scared are just now getting a little less scared. And there were people with valid issues, and illnesses or pre-existing conditions. So it wasn't like we judged people. We had some drive-by customers, but they were freaked out. Like, you didn't touch it, right? And, we would honor people's requests. They didn't want us to touch the box. So we would go to crazy lengths to honor what the customer wanted. But it's surreal. I'll say that. It's unlike anything we've ever been through.
Absolutely. And we were through 9/11 down there. That was crazy enough.
Yeah.
Crazy. Very different. Two totally different things, right? So bizarre.
Totally.
But both changed the world. And 9/11, I've never recovered from, honestly. And I guess I don't have enough perspective on it to know, because in life you just muscle through, right?
Right.
You get the job done and you do what you do. And I actually spent a lot of time in the shop myself because all my employees disappeared. And I got really down and dirty. I cleaned everything. I inventoried everything. It was actually something I hadn't done in like 15 years. And I kind of loved it. I love playing with cigars. Not playing with, I love the merchandising, the Tetris of it, the philosophy. Like, why should I put this here? Should I split the Padron box with naturals on the left and Maduros on the right? And then I was like, wow, let me clean the corners of this shop, which haven't been cleaned in 20 years. So, and that invigorated me. It reminded me like that if you can do crappy work like that and still love it, that's a blessing. And even when I was sitting there on my back, dirty, filthy, disgusting, I still enjoyed it. And so, it was a silver lining to me.
That's awesome. Now, one of the things that happened last year, with all this COVID thing, was that the PCA convention didn't happen, and as
nothing happened.
Nothing happened. But to my knowledge, they're still planning on having it this year. How important do you think it is for the industry to have that convention this year?
Yeah, I think it's important. I fear for them because it's, economically super important to them. And, I just don't know how successful it can be. I just was reading that the rules and stipulations that conventions are going to have to go through in Vegas. It's a new world. But this is a human contact business, and it's a relationship oriented business, and human contact feeds passion, right? It's part of the fuel that keeps us going. So we need it. We need the human contact. We need to see, I hate going to the supermarket now. You wear the mask or whatever. Even in Florida, we do wear masks.
Yeah.
And I smile, and maybe people are smiling back at me. I don't know, but you don't see that. There's such a disconnect, right? That people are not connecting with each other. So it's tremendously important. And I think the work that tobacconists do in retail, providing great hospitality, is really important. And what we've done, you, me, all retail tobacconists, that take this seriously, to provide a place for our customers. Our tagline when you worked for me used to be your oasis from the outside world.
Yeah.
And it always meant something to me. Over the years, I've really had to focus on tempering people and their political talk over the years. And, if you can't discuss things peaceably in my shops, then you don't have to discuss them at all, because, you know, to me, the retail tobacconist is for everybody, and everybody's entitled to the same amount of hospitality and peace and whatever they're looking for in there. We're happy to provide it, as long as it doesn't infringe on someone else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the whole point of a cigar is you're buying time for yourself. You know, you're buying the space for you to relax, to enjoy the taste, the smells, the sights that tobacco brings, and you know, you're creating memories. And who wants that? You know, filled with the smog of, you know, discontent and arguing and political views this, religious views that. You know, it's really important to keep that space, because I mean, you meet so many people in the tobacco in a tobacconist shop that you'd never come into contact with elsewhere. You know, it's like this great leveling field. You have people who are, you know, blue collar workers or janitors sitting down with business owners, and for whatever reason, that cigar starts these relationships. And I've never seen that happen anywhere else. It's one of the reasons I love the business.
Yeah, we have to work to protect it. You know, I didn't have a TV in my shops for the first 15 years. And we finally caved in and got it. And we put it way up on a cabinet. We definitely didn't have one when you were there.
No, you didn't.
And we put it, and I hated it. And first of all, I'm a TV person. I leave it on, low volume, the news, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we put one up on a cabinet, and then I would dial in my camera. And as soon as the TV came, people stopped looking at each other, and then you would just see 5, 6 people looking up like this at the TV. It, you know, it changes everything. So I'm still not a fan of the TV in the shop. And now you see it now, you know, and then people complain about what's on the TV. And, it, you know, just shut your pie hole and enjoy the cigar. So things become distractions from the cigar or the pipe. And that's not really helping, but that's another rant for another day.
Yeah, we'll save that for the
didn't
next
we
time.
like? Didn't you not have the TV on all day today here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Today, March 5th will be my year managing this store, and today was the first time ever the TV was never turned on the entire day, and it was a completely different experience. People talked to each other. People, you know, did a lot more relating. There was great conversation. No one got rankled because of what, you know, was going on politically in the country. It was great.
Nice.
It was great. So, you know, here's a question everybody wants the answer to, Jorge. What do you do to recharge, to help yourself to relax?
I moved to Florida.
You moved to Florida.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you know, listen, I try and work out 3-4 days a week. I have a dog. I have a cat. You know, I've been obsessed with creating what I've been doing for so long. And so I really moved down here to focus more on one thing, to see my family more. My parents are older, and I got them both. They've moved here to the West Coast. They're in different parts. They're separate, but, you know, I get to see them more. The other day, I took my dad to get his second vaccine shot.
Nice.
You know, I'm trying to learn how to relax, to be honest. I'm trying to learn how to be comfortable with myself. I find I don't have anything to prove anymore. You know, I think I spent the last 25 years trying to prove something. And now I'm coming from a different place. That's just a personal answer. Because I'm very passionate about what I do, right? So I don't play golf. You know, my hobby is creating and adding value to TU. And we have a lot of projects. You'll see the work that's gone into them as they get released this year, huge. So, you know, I have to do things that are healthy for me, but I have to also learn how to have a more balanced life. And I guess that's a journey for me too.
Sure. We do something here on the show called Pastor Padron's Cigar Confessions. Sometimes it's me entering the confessional, you know, complaining about what I see. Sometimes it's about educating people about how they can enjoy their cigar or pipe experience better by doing something or by stopping doing something. What's one of your pet peeves with cigar smokers? What's something that you would really challenge people to do or to stop doing so that they could enjoy their experience more?
Well, with so many, right? And when you're a tobacconist, there's a list.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you my favorite thing, because you just said that and it came to me. And if you look on the website, we have like an FAQ about smoking too hot. And if you ash your cigar and your ember's pointy, you're smoking that cigar too hot, and you're not getting the flavors and aromas transmitted to you. That's burning at the wrong pace.
Right.
My point to that is a cigar, and I love it. I wish I could articulate it better, but a cigar tells you exactly what pace to smoke it at.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to listen to your cigar, right? And like Padron anniversaries make me slow down a little bit. Sometimes that box press makes me slow down, and you could see it. It gets hot and it opens up here, but I think anybody who rushes through a cigar, that's one thing, but I'd like to see people listen to their cigar. Focus on your cigar. It's telling you how it wants to be smoked. It may not be what you want, how quickly you want to smoke it, but listening to your cigar, making sure it's burning right, it's telling you what it needs from you. And that's everything, right? Because you can have a bad cigar, but it might be your fault.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a great insight there. I don't think people think about that a lot. The way the cigar's rolled, the tobaccos that are used, even the age of the tobacco can dictate at what pace it's going to be best enjoyed. And if you're one of these guys who likes to power smoke everything, Nick, you might be missing out on a lot. On
guy who's not there yet. You are missing out on a lot. It's a totally different flavor profile. You're not smoking the cigar you're meant to be smoking. I also think the best cigars in the world make you stop. I like to smoke alone. I find it really hard to smoke while working. I like, in a great cigar like this Padron, Presidente, Maduro, it makes you stop. You take a great toke and you taste something and it kind of blows your mind. And you're like, what? I love a cigar that makes me stop to think about it. So that's not a pet peeve, but more of a preference.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So as we end up on the segment here, I know you need to be out of here by 9:00. What kind of flavor profiles, what kind of things are you picking up on your Presidente there, and how's your Scotch impacting the experience of the tobacco for you?
Well, I mean, the cigar's rich. It's super complex. The Scotch is gone, but Macallan's my go-to. Right? That's like drinking water. My brain separates the Macallan 12-year sherry oak cask from this cigar. But how about, you've been smoking Padrones. I've been smoking them 25 years. You've been smoking them probably that long. I've been smoking them longer. The consistency level of these people is so extraordinary. I mean, I know they're vertically integrated. I know they got all that going for them, but it's just so amazing that they can blend this and you know exactly what you're smoking. I find that to be the most extraordinary thing. The consistency of excellence is the hardest thing to achieve.
Yep.
I'll say this, as a secret. The Padrones might not be happy I say this. There was a time, and Dan, it might have been when you worked with me, that if you could get a box, like anniversaries had just come out in the mid-90s, you could get a box of 2000s or a Londres or a Delicia, regular Padron series, and you would smoke it, and it would smoke like an anniversary. Like they didn't have the perfect, I think, differentiation of their ligas like they do now. So when that would happen, I would take these boxes, and I swear to you, these boxes you'd be smoking a 2000 that tastes like an Exclusivo, except you were paying $4 a stick for it. Those were exciting times when they weren't this perfect. I mean, it's actually better than perfect. But the combination of richness and complexity, in my mind, they kind of invented this world. And it's out there now. There's a lot of great cigar makers. But I smoked this cigar, and it's like the old man, Jose Orlando Padron. He never failed to deliver his character, his excellence, and it's true for these cigars. If you want greatness and consistency, Padron does it for me.
Yes, that is absolutely true. 20-something years of smoking these, obviously things change over time, but when you think that different crops, change, the just because you got, something from, this leaf on the plant, at this level, last year, doesn't mean that it's going to create the same thing if you blend exactly the same stuff this year. But whatever they do, that Padron quintessential flavor and experience is there in every single cigar. It never really changes. It's amazing to me.
I'm sorry. One of the coolest things the old man ever said was, with regard to fermentation, which is one of my passions, right? And I know next to nothing about it because it's such an art form. But he said, if you have never lost tobacco fermenting, because, it's a very fine line where you go a little too hot, a little too long, and you lose it. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you haven't lost tobacco fermenting, you're not trying hard enough. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with Padrones. They're so robust, but they're so well balanced, right? It's because they're real artists at their fermentation. And that's, so you mentioned all that with the crops too, but the Padrones and the family members and the workers they have with them, which are like extended family, they understand their tobacco. Yeah. And you get it to a place like fermentation, they understand that. But I love the idea, the balls it takes to say, if we're not losing it, then we don't know where the line is. And great if you don't know where the ceiling is, the line. Yeah. And these cigars, to work with tobacco this charismatic, you need to go right to the edge. It's a wild, wild tobacco, but it doesn't fail to deliver.
Very true.
Dave, what about you? What's your experience with this?
I'm enchanted. I love this. This is my favorite Padron I've ever smoked.
Have you ever had it before, the Presidente?
I've not had a Presidente before.
What's standing out about the Presidente that you have not had with others?
It is to me, it is like super rich in taste. It burns slow. Mm-hmm. The cocoa, there's like this. It's like a melody of like cocoa, earth, leather. There's like a spice and a pepper to it. The mouthfeel lasts a long time.
Mm-hmm. Endless finish. The finish was on.
Yeah.
Paul, what about yourself?
Yeah, I would absolutely say the same thing. This is a slow burning cigar for me, and like I said, I'm not a Padron smoker per se. I've had a handful of them since I started working here, and but this is probably my favorite one so far. Yeah. And the taste, the flavors I'm getting out of it is, and this one is pronounced the chocolate flavor. Mm-hmm. And I think the Jack is bringing out even more of that. Is bringing out that natural sweetness, that chocolate flavor. It's mellowing out the pepper a little bit, but it's just a very, very smooth, well-balanced, flavorful cigar. I would say this is absolutely my favorite one.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite. My absolute favorite right now is the Padron 48. That cigar is a freaking dream house, and then the Presidente is my number 2, which is not to downgrade anything. This cigar I would put this up against almost anything. It's fantastic. Jorge, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have to get out of here, so I don't want to hold you any longer than.
Yeah, I wish we didn't have to stop.
Yeah. But thank you so much. I know you've got so much going on with just moving down there, and you're not even unpacked and everything. And I really, really appreciate that you gave us an hour of your time. That was fantastic.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again when you can spend some more time. That would be awesome.
Whenever you guys want. It's been really great.
That's awesome. Thank you very, very much. We're going to take a little bit of a break here. We're going to get ready to do our pipe review, and but we're saying goodbye to Jorge. Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it again.
Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you, Jorge.
So well, thank you.
All right. We'll be back. Now, Paul here is going to show you how to properly light a cigar.
Okay, so what I do is it's a two-step process. The first thing I want to do is I want to tee it up or toast the cigar. All right, now there's a couple of ways you can toast the cigar. What I notice a lot of people do is they'll take their cigar, they'll take their lighter, they'll ignite it, and they'll go ahead and move the lighter so that it's touching the tobacco, touching the footing here until it's properly toasted. What I do is I actually hold the lighter steady, and I'll take the cigar and I'll get it just over the light until it starts to ignite, and then I'll just rotate it. And what I'm doing here is I'm adhering the wrapper to the binder. I'm just sealing it up.
That's amazing, Paul.
Yep.
You're doing such a great job.
All right, so now it's toasted. Now comes the light. And what I do is I'll start off and I'll do quarter turns. All right, so ignite your lighter. Again, you want to keep the cigar just above the light. That's the hottest part of the flame, just until you can see it ignite.
And you see how he's pulling the lighter back as he's doing it.
Perfect. That's what you want. You'll be successful every time if you do that.
Now, a lot of what I see, let's talk about how not to do this, all right? First off, I see people do it all the time. And notice, Paul and I did not do this. They take their torch lighter and they get right up here and they go like this. See, now people like doing that because they're impatient. They want to just get right to the tobacco. They want to get to the lighting. It's like lighting is the least favorite thing for them to do. But if you look at this, you can see how the tobacco has been scorched at the bottom by doing that with the torch. That changes the flavor of the cigar. So if I take a draw on this one, and I get some nice wood notes, I get a little bit of spice. If I do the same with this one, I'm getting a lot of char. I can actually taste the burned tobacco. So you can really, really impact how your cigar is going to perform for the rest of the time based on how you light it up front. Now, another thing that people do wrong is they don't bother with the whole toasting thing. And they just kind of hold it up to the face. And again, with the torch, and then they get frustrated. What the fuck is this lighting? And then they end up with something like this, where it is half lit, okay? That's gonna be actually hard to correct because, you know, the tobacco is not gonna taste right because only half the cigar is lit. If you don't take time to evenly light the cigar right up front, it's gonna burn funny, it's gonna taste funny. So it is really important to take the time to do your cigar right. Toast it like you're toasting a marshmallow, and then do the light like you saw Paul and I do it. If you like soft flame, it's going to take a little bit longer. If you like a torch like Paul does, it's still going to take maybe longer than you thought, but you will really appreciate it when you take the time to light your cigar correctly. Right?
I think of it as when I'm smoking meat, you want to do it low and slow. Low flame.
Low and slow.
You don't want a heavy flame. You want to keep it just above the light. Again, it's the hottest part of the flame is just above it. And when you start to see the tobacco start to ignite, that's all you need. And as long as you do the turns after you toast it, your cigar should be lit properly, and you'll enjoy it that much more.
Thank you. Come again.
That's it. All right, everybody, we are back, and sorry that Jorge couldn't stick around for the second half of the show. He had to talk to some people over in India, and with the time difference and everything, he just couldn't hang for the second half of the show. But we're glad that you all have stuck with us, and we are going to be doing the second half of the show with Gawith Hoggarth's Kendal, Kentucky. And let me read you a little description that from tobaccoreviews.com, which I guess would have been on the bag or whatever. But, it's a bulk tobacco, so it's not really from a tin. It says, this entry in the Gawith Hoggarth & Company Kendal line is 100% dark-fired Kentucky leaf, exceptionally full and well-rounded. Kendal, Kentucky is a full-bodied, full-strength tobacco of 100% African-grown, i.e. Malawi, Uganda, and Tanzania, variation of the actual Kentucky seed. It's some very good stuff. It's made by Gawith and Hoggarth. It's classified as a burley blend, dark fire Kentucky, from those 3 different countries. No flavoring on this. It is a shag cut tobacco. You want to hand me that bag? Actually, let's show them a little bit of what's in there. Okay, shag is a very fine cut of tobacco there. You can see, you bring up a little bit of this stuff, you bring up a lot. It is a very, very fine cut of tobacco there, maybe a 32nd of an inch thick. It's really, really fine stuff. And because of that, it packs easily into your pipe. It's very easy to light. Even though Gawith Hoggarth stuff tends to be on the moist side, it does not take a lot to light the stuff because of the shag cut there. And we're continuing to smoke it with a Gentleman Jack, which we enjoyed with the cigar. What a great cigar that was.
That was fantastic.
That was a wonderful, wonderful cigar. I don't know what it is, but the Presidente in particular tends to smoke, I think, better than most of the other 1964s that are out on the market. I don't know why that is, but that's been my experience anyway.
Yep.
Wonderful cigar. What's your initial thoughts there, Paul, on the tobacco and the pairing with the Gentleman Jack?
Well, I got to tell you, when I was, I first lit it up this morning, and I was doing some research on the reviews, what people were saying about it, and my first initial thoughts were, okay, it's a pretty, maybe medium at best, nice fruit notes, a little bit of woodiness, a little smokiness as well too. But I was seeing, everyone saying how strong it was, and I just couldn't get it. But about maybe 6-7 minutes in, I started feeling the vitamin N coursing through your veins a little bit. So I said, okay, this is definitely the one. So yeah, no, I mean, it's. I was surprised. You said it's 100%. It's a burley blend, but it's 100% Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And but I actually got a lot more of the fruit notes initially off the first few draws.
Mm-hmm.
And but the fruity, woody, smoky, little earth to it too. But very, very well balanced, very, very smooth.
You get some like roasted nuts.
Yep, that too.
Roasted nuts off of this. That's what I'm picking up, along with that nice smokiness and this, being that the tobacco used in this is fire cured. It's but it's not nearly as pronounced smokiness as like a Latakia, for instance. It adds some depth. It adds some flavor, but it's not obnoxious at all. It's very, very good to me. Dave, what do you think of this stuff?
Yep, I actually smoked it out of a different pipe earlier, and I'm happy I moved to this one because I guess I think whatever I had smoked in the bowl prior or the briar was probably getting in the way. It's a nice thing about a meerschaum is that it's very neutral. I'm getting a lot more of those dried fruit flavors, and it's mixed with the roasted nuts. And I feel like the sweetness is being brought out a lot more with the pairing with the Gentleman Jack there.
Yeah.
And the retrohale is absolutely amazing, I think.
Now I'm looking up here. Sticks for Chicks, aka Heather, says it's a distinguishing mark for consumers to see certified tobacconists on staff, especially if it's a new to you shop. It's a guarantee of a level of knowledge and professionalism. I really agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one thing to be around cigars and tobacco and to kind of, you know, enough about it to talk about it, but you kind of know what. I mean, I kind of compare it to, you know, like my wife is a CNA. She's a certified nursing, you know, assistant, and you know, sometimes, you know, when I'm sick, she's sick, or the girls are sick, you know, you go online and you start to self-diagnose stuff. It's like, you know, just enough to be, you know, dangerous. But not necessarily enough that you really can make educated pronouncements about this, that, or the other, judgments on this, that. And I think that a lot of times, you know, people who work in cigar shops can get caught up in that they can, you know, yeah, I've read Cigar Aficionado, I've read Cigar Snob, and I've been around this stuff for years, so I don't really need to do anything else. But I think when you read his book, and you look at some of those videos, you get a whole lot more actual knowledge of the stuff that you're trying to sell. And I think that is so important because, you know, again, what you're really doing as a tobacconist is, you know, selling, you know, a person is buying a cigar or a pipe tobacco or a pipe or whatever to take time for themselves to sit and enjoy. And you want that experience that they're going to have, whether it's in your shop or it's at their home, to be as good and as positive as it possibly can. And that means you need to really know, you know, about how particular tobaccos are going to taste, how they're going to smell, how they're going to interact with what that person is going to be eating or drinking. And so having that extra knowledge, I think, is really what makes the difference between a place you know that just is trying to make a buck and a place that is really trying to, you know, build good relationships with their consumers. You know, what do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Dave. Thank you so much. Yes, Dave concurs.
I think what we bring to the table, because I've read the book, and I know Dave's read the book, and I know Nick's in the process of reading the book. But the knowledge that you get from that, and you add to it the knowledge that you may have had already, just helps you to differentiate yourself from other cigar shops in the area. And you can impart that knowledge to your customer, and you'd be surprised how much of a sponge they are to absorb a lot of that, because they'll have customers come back in and they'll reiterate, or they'll tell you what you told them the last time they were in about that. You know, talking about, let's say, you know, the Maduro wrapper, let's say the Sumatra, what's the different characteristics you're going to get out of it. And, you know, I'm a big lover of Maduro leaves.
No way.
Really?
And, yeah. So, you know, I have a passion about that. So I'll tell a customer. So some customers will come in and they'll kind of shy away from those cigars where they think it's too strong. But when you tell them specifically what a Maduro wrapper does for a cigar, you know, it adds richness. It can sweeten up a cigar. It can help to maybe tone down some of the intense tobaccos inside the fillers. And then they get it, and then they'll try it, and they'll say, wow, that was something I wasn't expecting. So I think the knowledge that you bring to it, you know, again, from the Tobacconist Handbook that Jorge has written, can help to educate the customers, and then it gets them excited too.
Yeah.
About, you know, the product that they're buying, and then it helps them to actually maybe take a leap of faith and try a cigar and maybe try another one beyond that. So I think that's where we, as tobacconists, can help the consumer.
Yeah, I think, you know, I remember something that Jim Price said, that his big pet peeve is people who call cigars sticks.
Yes.
And I'm very guilty of that. That's a really good stick, but,
Yep.
He really thinks that denigrates all the work and passion and effort that goes into making cigars. And when you read a book, like the Tobacconist Handbook, and you learn everything that goes into it and how much work and how many people are involved with doing that. And, the book also goes into pipes and pipe tobacco and all the work that goes into that. And when you have an appreciation for the passion, the time, the effort, the money, the expense that goes into making this product, it really helps you appreciate it more. And the more of a passion you have for it, the more that's going to come across to the consumer. And the more they're going to appreciate what it is that they're smoking and enjoying.
If you're excited about it, you're going to get the customer excited about it.
Yes, it's contagious.
Exactly.
Well, for me personally, after reading the book, I enjoy cigars more. Because it gives you a different perspective. You know more of what to look for. You understand more of where what you're looking for taste, because you understand the process. It's an enlightening experience.
Yep.
This tobacco has become one of my favorites. I can't stop smoking the stuff. It's just got such a unique taste. And on the one hand, it's all dark fired Kentucky, but it's from 3 different places. And how, and again, this is something that I learned, when I, trained under Jorge, when it was Cuba Cigar University, that the soil, the climate, has a big impact on how that tobacco is going to taste. And when you take the same kind of seed, but you grow it in 3 different countries with 3 different, climates, even though there might be similarities between those, the end result is the soil is not going to be the same. The climate is not going to be exactly the same. The way it's harvested is not going to be exactly the same. But so you take this one type of thing and you mix it together and you get this really very nuanced and complex smoke that's very enjoyable. And it's got this little bit of mesquite goodness going on with it. There's notes of earth and wood and the roasted nuts, but it's very smooth.
It is very, very smooth.
And there's this nice little peppery spice in the retro. It's got a great finish that kind of lingers a little bit, but not so much, not nearly as long as the Padron does.
No.
And the Gentleman Jack just goes great with it. I really think that the sweetness of the Jack is heightening some sweetness in the tobacco there, and is adding another layer of depth to this. And again, understanding how what you're eating and what you're drinking impacts your experience of the tobacco, again, is another thing that's talked about in the book. That I think is really helpful. It really helps you be able to narrow down what your consumers are looking for and how to maximize that for them.
Right. I mean, we had talked about potentially looking at bourbon for the pairing tonight, but we've done bourbon so many times, and trust me, I'm a huge. I love bourbon. Bourbon's my favorite brown liquor. All right, there's no question about it. But knowing that the Padron 64 is more like a medium plus smoke, I know from my past experience with Padrones, and again, this one really exceeded my expectations of what I thought I would get out of it. But I knew it needed something to help maybe just complement it on a mellower basis. Bourbons can be 100 proof plus. This is only 80, but it's like I said, the double mellowing process just kind of smooths out the Jack more than the original. So I think this one really did well with the the cigar, but I think you're absolutely right. This is a perfect pairing for this tobacco as well.
Yep, Paul is quickly becoming a spirit master. Great pairing.
Yep, that's one of the things that he's been growing in since the Potion Master has not been able to be with us as often as she would like.
Yep,
or at least as we would like.
I think she'd be proud of me tonight.
She'd be proud.
She'd be proud of me every night. Well, you know what I mean. Sorry, let me rephrase that. She'd be proud of me every time we do a pairing.
Oh, that's going on the dartboard.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, I know you had a selection of. Is Dave just
my
kind of set up?
My
for
selection
Jorge?
came down to one because my my notes were on my phone, which is currently our camera. So I had to look
That's
up
why they
what I
invented
did.
paper, Dave. You could write it down.
Yeah. Well, that's why I got that phone, because it's got a stylus. But
A
it's,
lot of good it's doing you now.
So
Yeah.
my blowing smoke question
Yes.
is
What is it?
where was I?
I don't know where I was. What?
So
What is it? What's your question?
So the words in the Tobacconist handbook, cigar and tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tobacco is listed, or is in the book, the word more times than cigar.
Okay.
Am I blowing smoke, or am I not
Okay.
blowing smoke?
Okay. I get it. So it was the word tobacco used more than cigar, and you're saying it was, and that's what I'm supposed to say.
Yes, the tobacco was listed more times than cigar.
I'm going to say you are not just blowing smoke.
Okay.
I'm going to say the same. You're not just blowing smoke.
So.
And if I'm wrong, you should be just blowing smoke.
Well, I was blowing smoke.
You were blowing smoke. The cigar
is listed 1,102 times. I'm sorry, 1,112 times.
1,112 times.
And tobacco was listed 999.
So let me guess. You have an app on your phone that deciphered how many times tobacco was listed in the book versus the word cigar.
Well, the cool thing about having the book on my tablet is I can search.
Oh my God!
Yeah, because I don't think in about a 5-minute span you were able to count personally how many.
Well, that was my one of my.
2, 3, 4. Oh, wait! Oh shit! I need
I
to
can only
start
count
over.
to 5. So yes, it's great, very helpful. But yes, I forget what my other question was.
Well, that does speak to his confession that cigars are really his passion, and pipes are not even a mistress. And you would use tobacco, obviously, when you're talking about pipes. But if your passion is really cigars, I'm not surprised, I guess, that is the...
Now, how many times do you think Maduro was listed?
Maduro.
How many times?
How many times was Maduro in the book?
I mean,
You read it, Paul. You should know. You're Pablo Maduro.
I don't have that app.
Yeah, your phone isn't.
I'm gonna
new
say
enough that can-
I'm gonna say maybe 100 times.
Yeah.
I'll say 500 times.
26.
26 times. Oh man, that's bad.
How do you feel now, Paul? Maduro was only written out 26 times. That's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Are you gonna be okay, Dave?
Yes.
Good. All right. I had so many questions for Jorge, and now he's gone. My master has left, and now we're just here amongst ourselves. I can't believe that it is March already. We had this incredible day today. It was in the upper 40s. Now I know it's going to get cold for a day or two. Then it's supposed to
Moderate back up again.
Migrate back up again, and it looks like spring is finally, spring really is kind of just around the corner. You think?
March has always been to me, it's always been an extension of February. Because it's a cruel month because two things. You can see it getting lighter out earlier and staying later. We turn the clocks ahead in a couple of weeks.
Yay!
So when we leave at 5:30, you'll still have light to, enjoy. But we have not had a blizzard yet this year.
No, that's true.
And I'm praying we don't, but March has always been one of the months that we always experience a heavy snowfall.
And there's always like the April Fool's kind of
April Fool's it can bleed into April too, Dave. It's why I always said that New England seems to be a 5 to 6 month winter area. We look this past year we had snow in late October. And then it just kind of continued little by little into November, December. We had a break in January, and then in February 1st, it started snowing, and it snowed off and on through the month.
Every Monday.
Yeah, that's right. Every month, exactly.
It was
every Monday.
originally supposed to snow tonight. Yeah.
Now there's no real snow in the immediate forecast, but this is only March 1st. We've got 30 days
time.
to.
I wonder if Jorge's going to have an extra room in the house he's buying. I've never quite understood why I moved back to New England.
Well, that's another.
I loved Florida.
That's another topic too, because a lot of people I know, I'm running into a lot of people that I have known that is considering or has made either is looking in Florida for either a second home or to move down there.
Yeah.
And I think Florida right now, I've actually. We talk. My girlfriend and I talk about potentially moving to Florida. She lived in Florida for a while,
okay,
and so we always, hypothetically think about moving back to Florida. I think after last year, we probably are more than 50% sure we're going to do it at some point. But we just we started researching the real estate listings just to see what's out there, and you would not be surprised, but the amount of real estate that is pending or sold is incredible. And it doesn't make a difference really what part of Florida you're looking at. Even the $1 million plus homes are going quick. Yeah. So I think this big influx of people that have just decided to just make that transition.
Now here's the question. Is it really a bigger influx of people, or is it we're just older and tired of dealing with this crap?
I think it's both.
Because there was a time where New England was fine, and I love the seasons, and you got the mountains, you got the ocean right there. You can do whatever you want. Down in Florida, the highest point is 300 feet above sea level. It's the flattest state in the country, and I was glad to live there. But I went down there for school. I didn't go because I thought it was the greatest place on earth. But I would certainly, as far as climate-wise, I would much rather deal with the humidity and heat down there than with the cold and I would rather deal with hurricanes and tornadoes than blizzards.
Yep. I think you're absolutely right. I think people have just made the ultimate decision that they, just like you said, Dan, they want to get out of the colder climates. Get into that nice warm to hot area, and they are willing to put up with the heat and humidity during the summertime. But it's also too what happened last year with all the big city lockdowns and all that. I think they're looking at Florida as almost like an oasis. Because Florida is one of the few states that has actually opened up a lot more than any other states have.
Yeah,
there's only really two states, Florida and South Dakota, that are it's almost like a bubble, where you can go around. And again, Jorge says they are still wearing masks, but I've talked to several people who have either lived there or have visited there, and they say there's a lot of places that don't. They're anti-masks.
Yeah,
anti-lockdowns.
I have a good friend down in Florida, and we talked video talk and stuff like that through Messenger, and
You never talk with her on video or
Well,
messenger?
we always do.
Oh, you always do.
And she never has a mask ever. They don't wear masks where she is. You know,
No.
everything's normal.
A lot of it depends on the town and
The locale. Yep.
How much news they watch. You know.
and well, the cities down there, I'm sure that, you know, like Orlando or Tampa or Miami, I'm sure there's a lot of mask wearing going on and around those suburbs. But there's small towns down there where everybody is so spread out, you know, there's no problem with social distancing because the next house is a mile that way. You know, it's outrageous.
Yep. But even so, is just like this community that is just, how do I put it? They've decided they're just going to live their lives and not worry about it. And they're congregating in larger groups. They're going to bars, and there's really, and like you said, it is depending on whether it's a larger city or a smaller suburb.
Right.
And the smaller suburbs, and I've talked to someone who lives down there. He says it all depends on where you live.
Yep.
If you live in Miami, you'll be dealing with that. If you're living in a small suburb, you're not going to have to worry about it.
Right.
You know.
Right. It'll be interesting to see how this goes as variants 2, 3, 4, 12 go through. You know, I'm living in Massachusetts. I'm thinking I'm going to be stuck inside my house with my kids for the rest of my life, unless I move.
Yep.
Good grief.
Yep. It's crazy.
What do you think? Are you ready for a little would you rather?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Here's the question, and we'll start with Dave.
Oh boy.
Okay. Dave, would you rather get matching piercings or matching tattoos?
Ooh. Oh, tattoos.
Tattoos.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not in the piercing thing.
No?
No.
There's a little too. Both of them include needles.
Yeah. No. I already have one tattoo. I plan to add more. So. Yeah.
What tattoo do you have?
I have a
Yoda.
2D. I have a 2D barcode. Remember?
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Which I intend to make into a Borg ship.
A Borg ship.
Yeah.
A little Star Trek action going on.
Star Trek action, which means I'm gonna have to complement on the other arm some Star Wars action.
So
Some
you're gonna
Mandalorian
get.
stuff.
You're planning on complementary tattoos, but not the matching tattoos.
No, I do matching tattoos.
What would you do matching tattoo?
Oh, I mean, what do you mean by matching? Do you mean like,
The same.
what do you mean like with a person, like another person?
No,
Like we have
on
matching
you, on your
tattoos?
body.
No,
matching
matching
tattoos.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, like something on the wrists, something like that, or maybe something on the fingers.
What is that something?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
You could do tattoo sleeves and say "Daved and confused" on both
So there
your
you
left
go.
and right arm.
Oh my gosh. Paul, what about you? Matching piercings or matching tattoos?
Matching tattoos. My
Matching
friend.
tattoos.
Yep, no problem with that. I already have a tattoo, and as Dave says, I've always wanted to get a few more, but I just never got around to it. But absolutely, I would go for matching tattoos.
I'll get Pablo Maduro across each pec.
No, we don't want to see those, Dave.
We don't.
No, I'll do sleeves. Pablo Maduro.
Wow. That's
Get it across.
this is one of those
Pablo
situations where
Maduro.
I'm very glad that Nick isn't here.
Yeah.
As I really don't want to hear his answer no matter what it is. Oh my gosh. I get matching chickens.
This
Is my chicken. Watch him waddle as I flex my pecs. Oh, no, I don't need to hear that. I'd probably go piercing.
Really?
I'd probably get my ears pierced.
Oh, come on.
Would you really?
You'd get your nipples pierced. Come on.
No, I would not get my nipples pierced. No. I mean, if I get my thing is, if I get a tattoo, like, say I get a dolphin, tattooed on my arm, by the time I'm 90, it's going to look like a whale. It'll spread out so much and grown so much. I don't want that to happen.
I can see Pastor Padron on both arms, dude.
Pastor Padron on both arms. Pastor Padron on one side, Darth Piper on the other.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Oh, there you go. I'd rather get my ears pierced. That's what I do. Next week, people, we have another amazing show set for you guys. We're going to be joined again by baseball great and cigar enthusiast Orlando Cabrera.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to be joining us for a discussion on aging cigars with bourbon.
Nice.
And one of the things we're going to be enjoying is 724 has a Dog Walker sampler, which is a series of 6 Dog Walker, short Corona.
We're going to smoke
cigars,
all of them.
And they're aged in Jack Daniels bottles. And it is amazing how that impacts the flavor of cigars. And Orlando likes to age his cigars with bourbon.
Yep.
And he gets a little cup, shot glass of bourbon and puts it in the middle of, with the boxes of cigars and lets them sit for a few months. And then he takes that out. But that time the cigars sit with that bourbon in the humidor really impacts the flavor of the cigars. And so we're going to be talking about aging cigars and using things like bourbon to really kind of add another dimension to the cigars that you're smoking. So it's going to be an all cigar show next week. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're always glad when Orlando's here. He's such a great guy, great humble guy, good friend of Twins, great friend of the podcast. We're excited about that. So thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you guys again next week, 8 o'clock, right here on YouTube for Time with Orlando Cabrera. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everyone.
And that's not just blowing smoke.
Nope.